Go to TAPgiles.com to learn dreams, engage my services, and support the channel.
Let's have another box over here, and I want to say if the character is next to the box, then the player controlling that character will feel rumble. So I'll just make this a different colour. There we go. And we'll have a chip on there for the logic. First, how do you make it rumble? So let's get a rumbler gadget over here. And if you tweak this and you can press play, oh, my vibration strength is at 0. And we press play, then you can see the imp freaking out because the controller is rumbling around, and that is moving the controller, and so that's moving the gyro as well. You can tell that the rumble is working for this controller by the imp kind of flopping about. So, and we've got the different motors have different style to them. So this one's like a more gentle one, and this one's a more wobbly one. And I'm using the PS5 controller, so it'll like feel slightly different, but they've kind of tried to emulate what the PS4 controllers feel like. But we can make it only work for a particular player by powering this with a wire, a special wire. So let's put that in here. And if I get a combiner, this produces a special different kinds of wires. So one of them is player info, and it has info for no player, or player 1, player 2, player 3, player 4. And that will tell this rumbler which players should have that applied to their controller. So if I have this send a signal into 2, then only player 2's controller will rumble when I turn that on. So if I play time and turn that on, there's no rumble for it. If I have another switch and I wire that into number 1 and I play time and I turn that on, now I'm getting that rumble. There are several gadgets which will consider players and send out the correct data for these different slots in a player info wire, which you can use to power rumblers and things like that. So one of those things is a trigger zone. So if you use a trigger zone, and this looks for, we'll just have it look for the possessed controller sensor, so it will find this player basically. And when we enter this zone, it will send out a signal from detected. And we wire that into the rumbler. I'll go into the controller and I'll allow imps during possession so that you can see the imp wobbling around and you can tell that it's actually working. The confusing thing there is, because it allows imps, there's no animation of the imp going into the thing. You'll just be controlling it. So test mode, now R2 on it, now I'm controlling it, but also I can see the imp. Cool, so if I go into this zone now, it's rumbling, but if we get 2 of these characters, and I'll give this a different color head, and then I use my second controller as well, so I'll just get that.
So now if I go into normal play mode, I'm controlling the left one, and then the second player is controlling the right one. If either of us go into that zone, you can see that player 2-1 is rumbling. Because it's looking for possessed controller sensors, it automatically has this special setting on, which will send out the correct value. So now it's powering just for the players inside that zone. And I'll turn up the effects so that we can see it easier. So if player 1 goes into it, that one's going crazy. But the player 2 imp isn't going crazy because it's not being rumbled. And then if we use player 2, this one's going crazy because player 2 is in there, but not the other player. So player 1 isn't getting the rumble at all.
And on my documentation, if you go to tapgiles.com/docs, you can look at the consider players setting for the trigger zone, and it will tell you which of the settings has that enabled and which ones have it disabled no matter what, and which ones you can choose. So if I use tag, then it will look for tags and we can turn on consider players or not. So if we have it not on, and we have it look for the tag called player, which I know is in these characters, Then when I go into here, they're both rumbling because it's not considering players when sending out its value. Like that. And if I go in with the other player, then both the imps are freaking out because both the controllers are rumbling. But then if we turn on consider players, then because that tag is inside a puppet that is possessed by a player, then it knows it uses that fact to send the signal. So now it only affects the player that's in there, and like that. And when that's off, then it just sends out a signal. Let's have a look at what it sends out. You can use a splitter gadget to actually get all those individual values from a special wire. So now you can see the non-player, player 1, 2, 3, and 4. So if this has consider players off, we can visualize what that gives us when I possess this one. So it's just got all of them as on. And if we put consider players on and try again, then it's only got that one being lit up and sending a signal. So only that player has rumble. So this makes it very easy. So like if you think of this as being an emitted explosion or something, you can have only players nearby that explosion feeling the rumble from it. Things like that. It's very cool.
Thanks for watching. I hope you learned something interesting. Go to patreon.com/TAPgiles to learn something new every day.